guys, welcome to Cult Film and Review, the podcast where we discuss the films you love but no one else gets, and we see if they still hold up. Tonight, we're broke, and we're looking for a bit of extra scratch at the home of everybody's favorite Prince of Evil, Satan. Because we're talking about the house of the devil, so let's start the show. Thanks for joining the cult this week. We really appreciate it. Do us a favor. Head over to iTunes. Leave us a review. We will give you a shout out at the end of the show. We got one to do.
Shout out.
So stick with us to hear that fun shout out at the end of the show. And then head over to cultfilmandreview.com. Make sure you put in your request for a review. This is Fan Pick February. We're keeping that train rolling. Choo choo. And yeah, choo choo, Kyle.
Choo choo. So stupid.
And we got another one coming at you with House of the Devil. But before we get in that, as always, I am joined by Kyle Smith.
Hey, how's it going?
Chris Wilbert.
Hey, what's up?
And Michael Salucio.
Hello, everybody.
And then don't forget also, because I did, March 15th, we're going to be at Film Bar. And we'll be showing Pink Flamingos. And then get tickets where, Chris?
TheFilmBarPHX.com.
That's right. Tonight we're doing House of the Devil. It was directed by Ty West. Came out in 2009. I had a budget of $900,000. Made $101,000 in the box office. Was rated R/unrated. And currently sits at an 87%.
Someone didn't update the whiteboard.
On Rotten Tomatoes. Yeah, that's definitely not updated.
R/unrated.
No, I think that's
that's true.
correct.
Is it?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
rated R.
/unrated.
Oh, maybe not unrated.
It might have been.
Okay.
No, it could have been. Some,
No.
I'm like Ron
He's
Burgundy.
Right.
I'm
He's
like
right.
Ron.
It's rated R.
Yeah,
I'm like-
you put whatever you want in front of him. He'll say it.
I'll say it. You write it down. I'm going to
Yeah.
say it.
Okay. I know a lot of films actually don't get ratings now because
rated
it's
R.
expensive. So.
No, this was
And
rated
people
R.
just don't care anymore.
I didn't see that the unrated was there.
Is it 87% on Rotten Tomatoes?
No, all of that is
Okay.
correct. I did that. I just didn't get rid of the unrated.
This pick is from Danielle Willard.
Yes, it is. And Danielle says, this is one of my favorite films ever. I feel like it's got quite a cult following despite being just shy of 10 years old. A college student in the 80s during the Satanic Panic takes a babysitting gig and realizes quickly there are sinister motives behind the family she's babysitting for. Filmed in my home state, Connecticut, and directed by Ty West. It's an instant classic. I think you guys will really enjoy it, and I would love to hear a review.
All right. I don't think we need to do applause with Mike.
No,
No.
that covered it.
We
There
did
you go.
applause with Danielle tonight.
Thanks, Danielle. Thanks
Thanks,
for
Danielle.
taking that away from
Thanks for
Mike.
taking my job.
Now,
taking
why
a
is he
job.
even on the show now?
I don't know what else Mike brings at this
All right, I'll
point.
see you guys later.
So, I'm going to ask this question, but I'm also going to answer it first. I had not seen this movie before, but I have heard of this movie. I remember when this movie came out, everybody was talking about how good it was. And it was like a big deal. And I also remember the box art because I saw it in like Target.
Mhm.
Every Target I went into, it was there for like the longest time, I feel like. So yeah, I've been waiting to see. I've been wanting to see this movie, just never got around to it. Now because of Danielle, I finally have.
Mm-hmm.
What about you, Kyle?
Same thing. When it came out, I heard the rumblings, heard the rumors that this is a good film, and I remember I just remember always seeing the cover art on I think Netflix. Is where I always saw it, and it was always like in my queue, like, oh, I need to watch that. That looks like something up my alley, and I just fucking never did.
Yeah,
So
same thing.
first time watch for me.
Chris.
Not my first time watching it. I saw it right when it came out. I actually waited to. I was anticipating this movie.
You were in line
I wasn't in line, but when
at the Walmart.
I mean, when it came out in the video stores, like I was ready to rent it, like because I had seen the artwork, and I really loved it, and I knew it was going to be like this like 70s throwback Satanic Panic, or like satanic cult, kind of movie, and I was like, yeah, man, I want to see some shit like that. So I was excited to see it back in 2009.
Mike.
No, I hadn't even heard of this film. Like, this was one that must have completely, like, went off my radar because this is the first time I'd ever heard the title. And then, like, seeing the director and everything, like, then it became like how come this skipped my radar? Like, I know a lot of these guys' movies.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Like I've seen VHS, I've seen those films. Like why? How did that? How did I miss it? Really? But I'm glad that this got picked because it was interesting, and I will talk about it because this is a review show.
I will discuss.
And I will also discuss that too. Yeah, it's a weird thing that I just I never got around to it, so finally getting around to it and getting to watch it here. One of the things that was brought up earlier, and I wanted to get back into it, and I think this is a perfect
Platform?
place for it because we don't
that's
have plots with Mike because Daniel stole his job. And that is talking about it's considered Mumblecore.
It's called Mumblecore, but that's like a subgenre of a subgenre.
What?
So
Yeah.
there's a genre called Mumblecore, right? And it was kind of had its heyday like maybe like late 90s, early like 2000s. There are a lot of films that have this style to it. Anybody seen the movie Slacker?
Yeah.
Okay, so Slacker is considered like it's like before the heyday of Mumblecore, but like a big influence on it, right? So like the dialogue is going to be very, very natural. It's going to be like almost like improvised. Like when you're watching it, you're kind of like, is this like, was there even a script, or are they just going off of like, this is a plot, this is what you're going to be doing? They'll talk about things that really have nothing to do to further anything, but it gives it a sense of realism to it that gave it the name Mumblecore because people would mumble and they would leave it in, kind of thing. So there are other films like it, and a lot of the names of the people that are in this film, people like Greta Gerwig, who just won an Oscar or maybe nominated. Did she win it?
She wasn't. They might have won for something for
Lady
Lady Bird.
Yeah. So Lady Bird is where people would know Greta Gerwig from, but she was also in a film called Frances Ha, which was directed by Noah Baumbach, and that is also considered a classic Mumblecore film.
I was even reading Clerks is considered.
Yeah, right. So like
yeah.
it definitely seems to have its influences in those early 90s films that made a big splash because they were made with very, very low budgets, and as a result the dialogue tended to be, it almost seemed like it was improvised. Like people didn't even, like, mistakes were left in because what are you going to do? You have $16 million. You're using 16 millimeter and you only have like, $7,000.
That's true. Yeah.
You don't have time to like keep doing takes.
Well, Slacker definitely
Yeah.
represents that because it's like they're just it's basically they're just following people around in Austin.
Essentially,
right?
that's exactly all they do, and you wonder even like, I mean, is it just a bunch of people? Kids kind of has that feel to it sometimes too.
Yeah.
Like that idea of like you're watching it and you're like, did they just like film a bunch of kids on the street? Like this is, but the same. These films are also known for having very, very small micro budgets attached to them.
like
Gotcha.
$1 million.
Yeah, under $1 million.
Sounds like
yeah.
you described the genre of indie film.
No,
Yeah.
not necessarily because there are
That's the point. That's the problem I take with this is that a lot of the things, the characteristics they're describing, I'm like, I watch those movies every day. And they're
but-
called B movies. Like they pretty much like.
Yeah.
I mean, we even Trilogy of Terror, we were questioning if there was improvised shit in it. You know what I mean? So it's just kind of.
There's
Well, I think it's more along the lines of like a tone and a feel. I don't think it's necessarily like.
yeah, but the tone of this film is so obviously like 70s inspired horror film.
Right, I understand that, but I'm not. That has nothing to do with the fact that this
I
still
just take-
falls into the
I take-
subgenre.
I
This
take-
is clearly a subgenre.
I
that
take
exists.
problem with I don't know. I always get irritated when I learn about new subgenres that were like invented for one or two films. I'm like,
So that's
Well-
kind of why I was trying to look is like where did it originate? It says it originated in France in the 60s. So it that the style
Okay.
goes back to that.
okay,
But I agree with you. It's like somebody made like an indie run and gun film and didn't have a script at all or much of one to speak of, and they're like, yeah, that's like a mumblecore film. It's like mumblecore, is it just a film that was
Well,
made
I-
poorly?
But
like,
what I'm saying is, but anytime something like that happens, and then 5 other films come out
Mhm.
that use that exact same style, like they're obviously shooting to do it.
Yeah.
You know something's moving. Like for instance, like Lena Dunham is in this film as a 911 operator,
Oh,
right?
interesting.
But she did Tiny Furniture, which is also considered like
yeah.
a classic Mumblecore film. Like
Okay.
just a bunch of kids. There's not really big of a plot going on. They're talking and they're going through their days.
So
you know?
some kids went to film school and they learned about
Probably.
the French version of this, and they're like, let's bring it back.
And then they screened their film, and someone's like, I don't get it, and their out was, oh, it's Mumblecore.
It's a French thing. You probably
Yeah.
don't know because you're not sophisticated.
Yeah. No, I mean it clearly exists, and it does have quite a history actually at this point. So I can't knock it too hard. But I did laugh when I was reading the characteristics. I'm like, it just sounds like a poorly made B film. Like it doesn't sound like it was like specifically made to make a point about something.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. You know, I definitely think that they were trying to do it because if you look at the list of films, you're like, oh yeah, that was a hot indie hit at the time. Oh yeah, that was a hot indie hit at the time. Like, there's so many of them. Like, and apparently there's a segment in VHS that's like this, but I don't remember. I can't think of which one it is.
Mm-hmm.
I also think
I don't
that this
remember all the
movie.
stories.
I also feel like this movie, like the performances, like I never got a vibe that it was off the cuff in this movie. I didn't get a good performance vibe from the actors in general in this
Well,
movie.
That
That-
might have to do with what you're talking about, though. The improvisation of of the dialogue.
Well, now you're just talking about like what's the director that we always that Cody and me dislike?
Tim Burton.
No.
Is it Tim Burton? Guys, you want to go back to that?
Blue.
How do you feel about that? How do you feel about Dumbo, guys?
Who did Blue Velvet?
David Lynch.
David
Lynch. David Lynch does that in his films. He has a whole bunch of random shit that it's seemingly innocuous conversations that don't mean anything. So is
Yeah.
he Mumblecore then?
Interesting.
I mean,
all
I guess you
scripted.
could try to make that argument. I'm not saying like I feel like
I'm
I'm
not
being
trying.
attacked
I
for
am
like
making
actually
the-
bringing up a thing that actually
you're
exists.
not being
Well, it's
attacked.
because you have to.
You're the
do-
resident expert in
it's
the room,
because-
so we're the
it's
one we're
because
attacking.
obviously Mumblecore came out with Gen Xers, who is in charge of Mumblecore, and you're the only Gen Xer here. So
Maybe that's true.
That's why
it's
you
your
have to.
fucking fault.
That's
Yeah.
why you have to
Your
defend it.
stupid generation had to make this. I think a lot of these people are millennials. I don't think Greta Gerwig is my age.
Yeah, she is.
she's probably mid-30s, I would say. Right?
She's probably like. I know.
We
she-
shouldn't speculate.
But,
Okay,
like,
we shouldn't speculate.
She's 68.
She's
No, wait, hold on.
a
Anyway,
late start.
I think most of these people are younger than me.
So
but-
this movie does fall into this genre, or Ty West was aiming to shoot a film in this style.
Yes.
is what it was
Yes.
kind of what we're getting back to.
right that
Yeah.
that horror films started taking on this,
Mhm.
and then some clever asshole said, "Well, Mumblecore."
Yeah, it's a horror. It's a subgenre of horror. 'Cause
Yeah.
we need more of that.
Like
So-
so.
so
subgenres
what's-
of
so-
subgenres
so
in our
Mum-
world.
It does.
So
it is a
Mumblegore-
subgenre of suburb.
Mumblecore is supposed to feel like natural, like the dialogue in someone's fucking normal day, and then the weird shit just happens. Is that?
It's just a horror film framed
It's, like,
around the same
aimless.
structure as one of those types of films. Yeah, those
Mhm.
dramas.
Who thought that was a good idea?
Ty West.
No, I mean he can't be the.
Clearly a few people
No,
because they've
I was
created a
gonna say,
subgenre of a
he-
subgenre.
He can't be like he can't be the first person to do this.
No,
so.
he's
He's not. No,
Clearly
no
he's
one's saying
not.
that he was the
Yeah.
first
No,
person.
no, but that's what I mean. Like, again, who thought mixing this with horror was a good idea?
Oh.
What I'm saying is that
Hmm.
I'm not saying that he created it. You're right, but
Yeah.
he runs in the same circles. Like all these people that I mentioned,
Yeah,
like in this, like Noah Baumbach and who's another one that's a big
they
one.
all got names like they do Mumblecore films
Yeah.
too. Real
Yeah.
snooty names.
Like-
Like
Yeah,
they're
there's no like Frank.
yeah, like they're all
Even-
just sitting at a coffee
No.
shop talking about their next film.
Even Woody Allen's film Manhattan
Yeah.
is listed as a
Yeah,
mumblecore film. A
Right.
mumblecore film would be the horror version.
it's just
of
a
that.
horror
Yeah.
version, of
Which
that.
is what is the horror?
Which is fucking this probably
of the
his
Devil.
other film, The Innkeepers.
Yeah,
like,
there's
I,
they've
maybe-
made a few.
I
Like,
don't know.
Yeah.
Let's see.
and all I'm saying is like and also Joe Swanberg is also like a guy he worked with, I think, on VHS,
Okay.
and he like did a shit ton of these types of films.
It sounds like just a way to make your indie film sound more interesting. Instead of just saying, I made a horror movie. Oh, I
But,
made
like-
a Mumblecore horror movie.
Yeah, if you're into Mumblegore, dude, I'm where it's at. I'm the Wes Anderson of fucking Mumblegore.
There's a couple other Mumblegore films listed here. Baghead from 2008. Your Next VHS is listed in there. The Sacrament, which was a Eli Roth Presents film, also directed by Ty West. And Creep, which was kind of like an indie
Creep, yeah,
hit.
yeah. I saw that was
Creep
another
was the
one.
only one that I knew.
It's a newer one. It's the
Yeah.
newest one on the list.
And but that's
Oh,
because
you're
also
next. I've heard of that.
yeah.
also,
yeah, you're next. That was big.
what's his name that did that film? The Duplass brothers.
Okay.
Like those are
Jay
they
Duplass,
also
yeah.
do like Mumblecore movies.
Mumblecore.
What about like Rubber? Would that be like a Mumblecore movie?
No, because that's like surrealism.
Okay.
He's probably my favorite wizard, though. Mumblegore.
That's so fucking funny. He's like the one guy. He's like the guy at Hogwarts, like no one likes. Oh man, I got fucking Professor Mumblegore. Oh man, you got Professor Mumblegore for fucking horticulture?
All right, guys.
Teaches the most boring wizardry
You
class.
get it for alchemy, did you?
Accounting
shit.
for wizards. Professor Mumblegore.
All right, let's take a break. When we come back, we'll talk more about. I just want to say Mumblegore.
We'll move
I think
off
we
that
covered
topic.
that
We'll
one.
talk this one to death.
More about House of the Devil. So the movie opens, and we find out that our main character, Samantha or Sam or Sammy, whatever you want to call her,
Okay.
she needs some moolah because she wants to move into her own place. Because she has a lame college roommate who's always banging it out with her boyfriend.
Sock's always on the door.
Fucking
Sock is
always
always
on
on the
the
door.
door.
Dirty ass sock too.
Yeah.
Gross looking sock. If I saw
You
that
don't-
sock on a
you
door,
don't
Stripes.
You don't
and
put a
hole.
clean. You don't put a clean sock on the door.
that's ridiculous.
I feel
That's
like-
disgusting.
No, I feel like you put a clean sock on the door just to be. That's courteous. That's courteous.
Curdy,
That's
yeah.
courteous. That's courteous right there.
You don't want somebody grabbing the cum sock.
Yeah, dude.
Jesus.
No, he's right. You don't
Who
want
does that? Who does that in college? By that time, you've learned. You know what? I can just masturbate and just like. Clean
I don't
up.
need to use the
I don't need
sock.
to
Yeah,
use
I
the
just
sock.
let it.
I
I
don't
can
need to
just.
hide anymore.
Yeah,
Put a black light in here. That ain't gonna surprise
Nothing
nobody.
suspicious about a sock on your dick.
I can just let it fly free. What do I need the sock for
Sorry.
to catch
Yeah.
it?
Anyways, she's banging.
Yes, her roommate is.
Yes.
Yes. And so she wants to get her own place, essentially. So she needs money, and she answers a help wanted ad, basically, for a babysitter.
Mm-hmm.
And then she is waiting for him, right?
Yeah, he calls and says, "I'll meet you outside of the student and faculty center or whatever."
Yeah.
And she goes and lays on the steps for
I do like
5 minutes.
Yeah. It is like 5 minutes. I do like that. I do like that shot though. A lot. It's framed very well.
There's a lot of good shots.
Yeah,
in
we
this
should
film.
get to the
Yeah.
that definitely in the
The
technical.
technical, I think we should talk about it too. But
What-
I agree that shot is.
I
It
just
is
pretty
that's
good.
for some reason that shot stuck with me, so I just thought I'd mention it now
Cool.
too. Okay.
Yes, and I agree with you.
Thanks for fucking letting me do that. I appreciate it.
Sorry.
So she basically responds to this ad, and the guy is supposed to pick her up, and he doesn't. And then she goes back to her room where her roommate is not banging.
Yeah, they're done banging.
They're
at this
done.
point.
They're done banging this
Post
time.
bang.
Mhm.
Yeah, and she's told then that she also has a message, and it's the creepy guy who
Mhm.
wants her to babysit. So when did she hang out with her friend?
No, that's speech. So she goes to her room, sock on the door. She goes grabs pizza with her friend,
Mhm.
Okay.
then goes back to the room. Oh no, I'm sorry. She goes to the room, sock on the door. She finds the babysitting thing, tries to call, doesn't work out. Goes back to the room. The dude gives her a weird look. She goes has pizza with a friend, comes back to the room, and that's when she has a missed call.
Here's a question I have. During that pizza scene, Megan's character says that the pizza tastes really bad.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I always wonder, like, okay, you're an independent film. You go into a guy's, establishment. You say, "Hey, man, thinking about showing your establishment. Do you mind if we use your location?" And they're like, "Yeah, man, that'd be great. Why don't you put the sign up?" And then all of a sudden, the line that is said after they've seen the movie is, "Man, this pizza tastes like shit."
Yeah.
But do you think that like people that own these establishments are like, "Fuck, man, I didn't know they were gonna say my pizza
Yeah.
tastes shit."
That's I don't know. That's a funny jab at them, I guess, for
Maybe
them
they- yeah.
opening up their place of business. Like
Hopefully they
this is
change
the
the
best
name.
pizza
of-
ever.
hopefully in the film they change the name of the pizza place at least.
I imagine they did, but still, like, what benefit is it to the location other than like, "Hey, man, now I can say that my pizza place was in this movie."
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And then
They're
the
not gonna-
line
they're
that
not
it
gonna tell
describes the
anyone it
place is
now.
that the pizza tastes like shit. It's just a weird thing.
I'd be very disappointed.
I don't know how to segue into this, but like as we're going
Go
on,
ahead.
so I do want to say when I was watching this movie and I texted you guys, like I was slowly editing this film, like re-editing this film in my mind. And we're in the intro, and I wanted to point out something that I kind of felt like there's a lot of scenes in this movie that I feel like are either unnecessary or misplaced in terms of the cut. And like, I kind of felt like the intro of her looking at this house, like, I mean, quite honestly, it served no genuine purpose. I feel like for us to see her looking at the house, it doesn't matter. Who cares? Other than to create a reason for her to walk back to her campus, so we can have a montage of credits. Like, I kind of felt like this movie would have actually worked a little bit better if it opened at the pizza shop, like her talking to her friend about this cool place she found.
Yeah.
And talking about, oh, I found this babysitting gig thing. You should call up on it or something like that. Like,
I don't know. Like, don't you think like show don't tell? It's probably a better.
It sets up the fact that
What?
she's strapped for cash and that she wants to move into her own place,
Yeah.
but she ain't got no money, and so she's just taking whatever gig she can get so she can get into this
Right, but-
place. And Dee Wallace is, in it, so
Yeah,
they wanted
we had to put the walls in it. No, I think what you're saying is like, okay, why didn't it start with like them in the pizza place and her just describing the fact that she wants a house?
yeah, I
kind of feel like that's exposit. Like that's like now you're going into like the realm of exposition versus
but
filmmaking.
here's the thing. There's a reason I would want to do that, though.
Okay.
Because if I'm looking at this film and I'm looking at it from like the director's standpoint, he's shooting in 16 millimeter. It's a little more dialogue heavy of a script. So he's obviously trying to pay homage to horror films of the 70s and the early
absolutely.
80s.
Wait,
Absolutely.
That credit roll is just
The credit roll is-
classic. Yeah.
I feel like that credit roll, if it had like a slow piano, would be like right up there next to Exorcist in terms of like an opening credit roll or
Mhm.
something. Like
Mhm.
so
definitely.
he's clearly trying to kind of pay this homage to this, and I feel like exposition is like that's a staple of 70s horror films, right? Is like more dialogue heavy, more descriptors
Mhm.
leading into it. So I feel like if you were, to me personally, if I was trying to make like a real true call to these films, then I probably would have a script that's a little more dialogue heavy. It's more tell don't show type of thing,
Mhm.
and it would also, I feel like, play a little bit better to the indie film kind of idea of it, where it's like, well, we don't have a budget for multiple locations, so we're kind of trying to
Yeah.
keep this close
We're
together.
going to keep this in a pizza place.
And that's kind of how I looked at this film as I was watching it.
Very
I was
different
watching
house
it.
of the devil.
I was watching it with the mindset like, okay, I'm watching a 70s horror film. That's
Uh-huh.
kind of how the guy's going for. So that's kind of how I was framing my experience as I was watching it. Was like, well, he didn't quite hit it. I feel like
Mhm.
I think his goal of paying homage.
All right.
Okay, fair enough.
I can
Yeah.
accept that.
I just felt
but
like
that's
it
not,
was-
That's not Mumblecore.
That's true.
It's
Now
not
I didn't know
Mumblecore.
about Mumblecore or Gore, beforehand, so I could be completely off
Yeah,
now.
I mean, I just felt like it was just they were trying to give us some kind of character development, like with
that's what I
this,
mean.
like her interacting with Dee Wallace.
Yeah.
But they kept feeding things that I was like, how does
Yes.
this come in? Like Dee Wallace goes, "You remind me of your daughter. I'll waive the fee." Blah blah. I'm
Right.
like, why? Like, I mean, like all of a sudden you just feel this weird connection to her, but it never goes anywhere.
Exactly.
Dee Wallace never comes back into the
Mhm.
picture. She never, you know what I mean? Like, so
Like weird
Why-
comments about other people looking at it, and it's just like, oh, okay, this is. And then the fucking title card. That's the thing that irritated me. The title card as she's walking away, House of the Devil. It's like, oh, okay, so this is the house. This is going to be something. And then like we never go back to that house. And it's like,
yeah, it's true.
It's true.
All right.
I did think that too in the beginning. I was like, oh, she's gonna buy this house, she's gonna move in, and it's gonna be haunted.
some shit's going to go down.
By the
dishes,
devil.
dishes are gonna fly. Cabinets are gonna open and close.
I mean, you could have kept the satanic
Yeah.
cult aspect and just like
well,
at that same house, but then it's just kind of like a throw. It feels like a throwaway.
I have
honestly.
a theory. And I'm probably wrong, but I'm just gonna throw it out there anyways.
Okay.
Like when we finally get to the house that she's supposed to be babysitting at, which is this beautiful Victorian Gothic style house, I thought to myself,
With a southwestern theme. By
he
the way.
I thought to myself, Ty West probably stayed at this house and was like, I need to make a movie here, and then created like this whole story around this house because there's so many unutilized like other settings that they could have had. Like we never go to the graveyard until the very end. Like they just show it in passing. I'm like, we could have had more go down there, but like we pretty much only stay in this house once we get to the house. So
Pretty much, yeah.
yeah, so I don't know. I just felt like, to me, that felt like again, confusing a little. Like it was like maybe it was driven. The film was driven specifically because of this house was available. This location was available
So,
to shoot at.
I would tend to agree with that if it wasn't for the fact that before they even get to by the time they get to the house, I did like a running time check on this, and it's like 40 minutes into the film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like where I'm like, okay,
have a
this was
point
your
there.
only location. You're like, all right, this is a beautiful house. I'm just gonna shoot this whole thing in this crazy looking house. I would think it would spend more time there, but that's really like the other half of the film.
Right.
Like
Yeah, that's
half
true,
the
you're
film is
right.
taken up her actually just trying to get to the house. I mean, even
Yeah.
to the point where now there is one section where I also agree with Kyle on that I felt like what was the point of him standing her up the first time?
Yeah. What's
Like-
the point of that?
Like she falls asleep on the thing, and yes, great shot, but like at the same time, like what?
What was the point?
What
Was
does
there
it
was needed-
represent? Like,
So that was the one thing with this film, definitely, where I was like a little weirded out, kind of like, all right, man, like we just spent 45 minutes, like her trying to even get to be the
Well,
babysitter.
I was,
Like,
Yeah.
I was wondering if it was like the whole speech that again. This is kind of jumping to the end, but where he gives
Oops, sorry.
the satanic old dude gives at the end, where he's like, "You're the chosen one." Like,
yeah,
I thought it had something to do with that.
maybe. I do think that has like something about that first babysitter
Yeah,
that doesn't.
work
I mean,
out.
we'll get to it. Like we're like jumping around now.
yeah.
But yeah, just going back to like I understand where both you guys are coming from. Like, and I do think that like maybe the low budget of this play some part, maybe.
It's $1 million, though.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
Like
It's
the
$1
budget was $1 million.
Yeah. It's not
And
really
they had-
low
Well,
budget.
but keep in mind they also shot on 16 millimeters, so that eats up a fuckload
yeah,
of budget.
okay, I'll give you that.
Okay,
Yes,
all right.
definitely.
Yeah. Anyways, let's
Yeah,
go on. So next,
so,
let's go.
but basically, what happens next is Sam and her friend, is it Megan?
Mhm.
Yes.
So Sam and Megan, they're gonna go check out this babysitting gig,
Mhm.
and they go to the house. That's where we're at now.
And Megan has on the way shown her that she ripped down all the other flyers so
Mhm.
to make sure that Samantha would get the gig, like doing the babysitting job.
Good friend.
Yeah.
Really good friend.
Megan
Hey,
is a very good
Well,
friend.
she
in
gets
this.
hers.
She does, and
Yeah.
that's and this is
That's a
the
confusing
interesting
one,
scene, right?
too.
They show up and like, obviously Megan immediately is like, "This is a bad fucking idea."
Yeah,
I mean, that hard candy looks like it tastes like
But
shit.
she does eat the hard candy, and that's another weird shot too because they make it play it off almost like the candy is gonna have some,
like a side effect.
yeah, like the
Yeah.
candy is gonna kill her.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Like because they pay
yeah.
a lot of attention to the bowl. It seems like a misdirect almost.
Yeah.
That's a lot of what's going on in this movie. I feel
Yeah,
like.
because you're like sitting there like, all right, so she's gonna die. This candy's gonna be poison. Like, and
Mhm.
I'm also thinking like, why is she eating a candy in this weird ass fucking place?
Mhm.
Looks like my grandma's
I wouldn't
bowl.
eat candy in that house.
Absolutely not. You know that candy's like 25 years old. No,
Yeah.
you see like a
For
lot
real,
of
dude.
visitors
They
showing
don't
up there.
make that candy anymore.
Yeah, she's going after those. It's just like they're like little butterscotches, like the shit your grandmother used
Or
to
like the
have.
little strawberry candies that had like the jelly inside.
Yeah.
or
Oh,
something.
those are
It's all the
good.
shit candy. I don't know why she's so
No,
Those are good. Those
she's
aren't
taking a
shit.
big
Yeah.
risk
Old
here.
Those are
people
good.
candy.
It's old people
Some
candy. for
Werther's
sure.
Originals priced in
Yeah.
there as well.
But yeah, she's not comfortable with this house, and then we also, I think, at this time too, find out that it's not a child that she'll
No.
be babysitting; that it's a grandmother,
An elderly woman.
an elderly woman who's really doesn't need to be taken care of at all.
Nope.
Yeah.
Which is that's the thing that's so weird about all of this is that and it obviously sets off a shit ton of red flags. Like
Yeah.
somebody, hey, so by the way, not a kid, and B, I just need you to stay here. Can't tell you why.
Yeah.
You won't even have to do anything. Woman's upstairs. She can totally take care of herself. Which
Mhm.
again, then why do you need me here?
And here's quadruple the money that I
Yeah.
was going to pay you.
And I'll pay you whatever. Fucking here's
Yeah.
like $4.
Here's my wallet.
Yeah.
My wife's very paranoid, he keeps saying. My wife is a very paranoid
Yeah.
person. And I'm
Yeah.
just like, okay, like, I guess, like, you could justify it that way,
Yeah.
you know?
I mean, you could, but it's ridiculous.
Yeah, and Megan all the while is still just like, dude, this is like,
Yeah, this is it's a trap.
yeah. But
Yeah.
they also think going back to Megan, what I thought, like,
Admiral
they were
Arnak.
trying to give her some character development too by like showing that she's like a rich kid, like, or trying to project that she's a rich kid. She has
Who's
a
that?
rich, Megan. Like they
Uh-huh.
try to set her up like that. And that was another thing. I was
When
like,
did
why
they
do
do
we
that?
need, dude? Like in the beginning when she says I don't have money, she says my dad will
Oh.
take care of it in the car. Or
Right.
when she says you don't know about rich people, they're weird too because you haven't met my family. Like
Yeah.
they make this a point to be like part of her character, but I just don't know why.
Yeah,
I mean, it didn't. I mean, it was just like a little bit of a layer. I didn't really
Mm.
see her it being like she could have been rich, she could have been poor.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess they pay attention. They obviously draw your attention to it, but maybe it could have been something they felt like in a script, like,
Mhm.
well, this explains why she would feel weird about this.
It's all set up for the next thing that happens. Basically, Megan says, "I'm out of here,"
Yep,
and
that becomes
Sam
true.
says, I'm gonna stay," and so Megan drives off. And then what happens, Chris?
What happens is a scene that I forgot about actually, and she basically pulls up next to the cemetery, I believe,
Yes.
and she tries to light a cigarette, and the creepiest bearded dude like leans in the window with a Zippo lighter and is like, "Here, you need this. That's much safer." And I'm like, "Yeah, at this point, I think I'd be hitting the gas, dude." Like,
Yeah, Megan is real bold here, and especially the way that whole scene progresses because
Yeah.
it's one more creepy thing. And her attitude about it is not, I gotta get the fuck out of here. Her attitude about it is, I'm gonna stick around,
I'm gonna let
like,
this play
question
out.
and interrogate this
Yeah.
guy. Like, where did you come from? Why are you here?
sure, I'll use your lighter.
Sure, yeah, right. Like, it's just such a weird kind of like thing, and the guy keeps throwing up more and more red flags until it's too
Yeah.
late.
I like how you said that he's like creepy because when I saw the guy, all I could think of is like a kid I went to high school with that like wore khakis every day with white Velcro shoes, like, and just wore a trench coat. You know what I mean? Like one of those
I got
kids.
you. Yeah, but at the same time,
It's a
leaning in
weird
your
look.
window, being
Yeah.
looking maniacal in a sense, like just kind of like,
Asking really intrusive questions. Like,
"Are
would
you
think
the
woman would be-
babysitter?"
Yeah, and
And
Yeah.
then what happens is
The answer is
something I
yes.
forgot about. Something I forgot about is no, I'm not the babysitter. And then he blows her head off in the car, and it's like actually a very awesome,
Yes.
kind of shocking scene.
It's
Yeah.
the only shocking thing in this movie.
But like, I'm trying to wrap my head around just the physics here of this scene
Go
oh
ahead,
yeah,
wrap
I
it
want
around.
to talk about this
because it's like, okay, she takes off from the house, she cruises down for a while, she pulls off into a random cemetery. This guy is seemingly, he was either following her from the moment she left the house or was just at the cemetery, but we don't see his car, so we don't know
Yeah.
if he was
Right.
following her. So he just randomly appears, randomly has a question about her being a babysitter, and then shoots her.
like, what was his point? Yeah, what was the point?
I mean,
of
I
him
get
being
the
there,
I get
first
the
of all?
motive being like, well, you're probably supposed to pick her up. We don't want you showing up randomly. I got to take care of this. But how did he even? I have no context around how he knew that she was going to be picking
Oh, I know.
up the main girl later.
I
So
know-
it's just like a random kill.
I kind of put I kind of put this together at the end of the film when it turned into what I thought was a pretty obvious, like it felt like at the end of this film when everything starts going down, it takes a very Texas Chainsaw Massacre vibe to it, like how the action plays out and how the camera work works and even the roles that people play. I got a very Texas Chainsaw, like the family chasing after the girl who just got out of the chair.
right?
Mhm.
So I almost took it as that guy's like he's like the Leatherface who they're like, hey, she brought a friend with her. Go take care of the friend. Bring it back to the
Yeah.
house because the body's back in the house
yeah.
afterwards. So I feel like they sent him out
Yeah,
to.
I think they did.
Yeah,
Maybe
but I
even
don't know
that's who
why.
he was talking to
I
when he
don't-
went upstairs
yeah.
because the wife was not upstairs clearly. So maybe he was talking to
But
that
hold
guy.
on,
Yeah.
hold on. Like, to Kyle's point, like, let's talk
Why
about
she pull over? I don't know.
how does he know he's gonna pull over? He's not gonna chase her down on fucking foot if she's in a car.
I think. Yeah.
Two, do you really think he knew that was Megan? Because when he only shoots her because she says, "No, I'm not the babysitter." As if, like, all of a sudden he's like, "Oh, wait, if you're not the babysitter, then you're somebody that could be a threat to this whole plan. I'm gonna blow your fucking head off," which he does.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, a part of me is kind of like, yeah, how's this plan gonna work? If it's like you said, and he's the Leatherface,
Yeah.
right? And the family is like, "Hey, I need you to tie up a loose end." Like, his plan is what? Yeah, I know what I'll do. I'll just stand
wait.
on the side of the road, hope that she pulls over for some random reason, like
See,
I can't light a cigarette,
Here's my thing.
I think
and
he
then I'll
followed
blow
her.
her
I
head.
think
Like,
I think he
huh.
followed her in a car behind her without the headlights on. Very very Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Ah,
I'm just putting this in
okay.
there
I think
I'm
that's
adding-
the
But
most
why does he
logical.
ask if he's the babysitter? Because then he
Because-
doesn't have a
because
plan.
if he never saw them, he doesn't know which one left. Maybe the other one stayed. Like he's just double checking his work.
Here's what I think it was.
He
I
doesn't
think
want to ruin it.
Yeah.
it's something like what you said, but I think what it was, because another thing we haven't discussed, this film takes place in like the 80s,
Yeah.
Mhm.
right? So there's no cell phones.
Yeah.
So we're not living in this world anymore.
Yeah.
So if he's out there, it could have been something along the lines of like, okay, hey, so if the babysitter says no to us, I need you to like bring her back here. Like, and I think that that's why he was out there, because they had a plan set up already. Like, hey, there's a very real possibility that this girl, once I tell her, hey, this is a babysitting gig, and hey, I'm having you look after my mom, they might just say no. And if that case, they're gonna have to leave, right?
But if she's the chosen one,
but if she's the chosen one, I can't shoot her.
Can't let her leave.
Right.
Yeah.
So when he realizes, like, the girl comes by and he's like, hey, and he's doing this whole plan, and then realizes she's not the babysitter, then he's like, oh, wait, if you're not the babysitter, I just can't have you leave anyway. So, and he blows her fucking head off.
It has to be something
That's
like
the
that.
only thing I could factor.
I also
how that worked out.
bad on Megan to just take that question with an earnest response. Are you the babysitter? No.
You always answer yes.
And it's just like,
you always answer yes.
my responsibility. Are you the babysitter? Like, the fuck are you talking about, babysitter?
It's like in
Like,
Ghostbusters.
who are you?
When somebody asks you if you're
the keymaster.
say yes. Same thing.
Same damn thing.
And I also want to talk about, and I don't know if I should bring this up now or later.
Well, where are we at in the story?
right now,
Megan's dead.
Megan's
Megan
dead.
getting shot, but I want to
She
talk
got
about
blown up.
this gun. Yeah, that
yeah,
like
the hand cannon.
I mean, literally blows
Jesus.
her face
Clean
right off.
Yeah.
Like just, I mean, it like
It was a
she
good
falls
shot.
down. It's a great shot.
I love
and it
how
comes out of
fast it
nowhere.
is. I love how fast it is. It's just like, are you the babysitter? No. Boom.
It's
done.
the fastest thing in this film.
So okay. So then
So-
that happens, and
we'll get
you're-
back to this
and-
gun
and-
too.
And then you cut. Then don't
Yeah.
we cut back into the house and what she's doing, which is not much, honestly.
No.
Like,
No.
then
And
she's
you-
sitting
This
around.
is, yeah, this actually was come back to Kyle's notes on House of the Devil. This is one of the scenes that I actually I think I disliked the most was from a character development aspect. The next thing we see is this woman basically just rummaging through this fucking house, and I get it, it's a creepy family, weird vibes, whatever, but it's just like, I
weird
don't know.
noises and stuff coming from upstairs, and
She just starts going through
You're-
every single crevice of that house.
Also missing the the full on dance montage.
Yeah.
Well, no, that happens after she rummages. She rummages through the house once, and then she dance montages her ass to that house again. And like, I think from my aspect, if I was re-editing this film, I actually would have omitted that scene of her rummaging through the house, because I now know that she has some semblance of a basic blueprint of the home, which takes some of the urgency and dread away from the chase scene at the end, because then she kind of knows how to get around the place. Whereas if she didn't do that, she'd be flying blind while she's getting chased to his house, and then you could have a better scare, which is a reveal of the original family that's in there, because that scene is just useless. It shows us it's not a scare in any way.
I just feel like I feel like
Are you talking about the dead bodies?
Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah, that was. I was like,
I feel like that
I
scene
said,
was
she didn't even
wasted.
I said she didn't even open the door.
Yeah, that surprise was completely wasted. It would have been better if during the chase,
Yeah.
she discovers it, and it's just another way to amp up the horror.
Would have
She
been
never,
Texas Chainsaw.
she never finds that.
Yeah, she never finds it. Only
No.
the audience knows it exists.
Mhm.
Right.
What's the point of that? I forgot about that until you just
And
brought
well,
it
it's
up.
to tell you a little bit about the
Yeah.
people that we think were living there in that house. Like,
Yeah, but
Well,
why
yeah.
not keep the mystery until the very end and then reveal
No,
that
you're
you thought
right,
what was
you're
going
right.
on was going on the whole time?
I like the idea again, like Sally and Texas Chainsaw running around the house and finding dead bodies. You know,
Yeah.
like it's
It makes it more chaotic. It makes we believe the characters' like fear and confusion and fright that even more, because we're on this fucking journey with her. Whereas right now it's like we hold, as the audience member, we hold all the cards, so we know what's going down in this house.
So-
and her just running around randomly feels, for me, it felt less threatening.
I kind of disagree. Like, I didn't
Okay.
have a problem that I, as an audience member, knew about the danger in the house where she clearly didn't.
no,
like,
no,
and
no.
I've seen-
You know that from the beginning of the movie. There's going to be danger in the house.
I mean, it's called
it's called House of the Devil. If it's just her babysitting and then finding a really risque magazine, like I think we're gonna kind of takes away from the title. But no, I just like I don't have a problem with that. Like, because I've seen plenty of movies like that. I think Hush is kind of like that a little bit. You know, I think there's scenes in this where she clearly can't see the danger behind her because she can't hear, but and she can't speak.
Well, that I don't know if that's if that's a good comparison, because that's a really unique, really unique set of circumstances, and that is terrifying for the audience because
Right.
it's the exact same thing as Silence of the Lambs when Clarice is flying blind and he's got fucking
And you see
he's
him
got
and you
he's
know-
got night vision goggles
But
on.
in this, it's a case of her being completely innocent in this place. She hasn't found any of the danger that we know exists.
Mhm.
Like the only thing that I had a problem with, and maybe going to Kyle's editing thing, is like maybe I would have done the dance montage first and then the finding of the family second.
Yes.
Because when she starts dancing around, she's already a little suspicious and odded out by this place.
Yeah.
For her to be like, okay, I'm comfortable here,
Her
fuck
guard's
it, and I'm gonna
down,
dance.
yeah.
I thought it would be more along the lines of like, man, this is an easy gig. She's
Yeah.
dancing around, and then finds something, and then gets more inquisitive.
Right.
But other than that, I didn't really have a problem with the I know about the danger and you don't.
Oh no.
It didn't bother me,
No, that didn't
I understand
bother
what
me.
they were doing
I
with that
think, yeah,
scene.
you're right. If they swapped it, it's like, yeah, her guard. If she's suspicious, her guard would be up. She's not going to be like freely.
She's not going to be
dip
dancing, having a good time.
Yeah.
and
But it's-
I knew she was gonna knock
It's-
something
but,
over.
But
Can
it's,
we-
yeah.
yeah, obviously.
She's jumping on couches.
But
I'm
that's
like,
like-
Jesus Christ,
but
you're
that-
really
that's a-
taking liberties here.
Think about that though. If they did that, that's a great segue into her exploring the house. then.
Yes.
She knocks something over. She finds a bunch of weird
She's like,
pictures.
"Fuck, now I gotta
She's
go
like,
clean
this
it."
looks
Yeah.
fucking like who's this family? And then she kind of starts exploring the home.
Right.
And kind of starting to put puzzle pieces together. And then the shit hits the fan, and it just kind of
Correct.
It's like it's this movie. This movie felt like a roller coaster that never had a drop. It's just you're just going up, and like it never has like this up and down. Like whoa, something crazy. Okay, now it's chill. It's just kind of like a boring, like slow ride up.
Which
And then when you get to the top, that's where you get off the ride. It's just like oh,
which
there's
in an
no-
odd way is weird because like
payoff.
that's exactly how Creep is.
Mm.
Creep is that film where it's like you start off being like, this is a little strange, and then he's all right.
Mhm.
Nah, he's a little fucking weird. He's all right.
Mhm, mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it gets worse and worse and worse to
Mhm.
the point where you're just like, okay, this guy needs to get the fuck out of here. This guy's crazy.
Mhm.
This film, it just like, yeah, it kind of felt a little off kilter. It doesn't have that same feel. This is more of like a consistent, like,
It's like taking a ski lift to the
They
top of
could-
the mountain and then taking a bus down.
Yeah.
The thing is
Yeah.
they could have added so much more because you have the element of this creepy fucking grandma that's supposed to be upstairs.
mhm.
So the scares could have been amplified so much more because there is supposedly another person in this house, but they only like
they don't use it.
they
very
don't
well.
use it until
Yeah.
until the point where she she gets pizza delivered. The guy keeps insisting that, the supposed owner of the house who's hired her, keeps insisting that she orders pizza
Right.
and the numbers on the fridge, and you college kids like pizza and all that shit.
Yeah.
Well, it's just a setup to find out that, the pizza she orders is drugged,
Yeah.
and she ends up when she's going up to up the stairs to see the grandma, right? And then before she gets to the door,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
when she starts getting all woozy and,
Right.
Yes.
kind of starting
Which-
to pass out.
So
And I want to talk about that scene about when she finds out that the pizza doesn't taste great.
Yeah.
Because like I actually liked that scene a lot. That was an interesting way. As an audience member, like, why? What did the pizza taste like? Because she rinses out her mouth with the water, and you can tell she's like, ugh, like
Yeah.
And as an audience member, you're like, yeah, that pizza don't. Why does that pizza taste like that? Why are you freaking out? It's a subtle way to say that you know that it's drugged.
Yeah.
the
Right.
the thing that I remember from the pizza scene is when she's running around the house with a knife,
Yes.
and then
Yeah.
the pizza comes and she takes the pizza and closes the door, and I'm like, who holds a pizza box like that? I don't
yeah,
care
you
how
never turn a pizza sideways.
Yeah, I don't
don't give a
care
fuck how
how,
much in
how
danger it
scared
is.
you are. That's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
That pizza's ruined. At
And
that
then,
point.
I don't know. And then she opens the
toppings
box and
just
it's like
sliding off.
okay, and I'm like, it's okay.
Yeah.
It's like,
Don't
oh,
trust that pizza. There's so many signs
Now
now.
it's lasagna.
Yeah,
They-
that pizza had to have like a fucking concrete
I
crust.
I honestly believe they could have in the beginning of this film when they sat her down and be like, "Hey, I need you to babysit." They could have said, "Listen, we're a Satanist cult, and we're gonna give you $400 to survive 4 hours." And I feel like she would have been like, "Cool."
No.
Like
What?
are you talking
there's
about?
so much because there's so many goddamn red flags about this job that it's like you could hit her with a bus and I don't feel like she would notice. Like it's ridiculous. It's
Yeah.
crazy, man.
It's true. I mean, that is unfortunate that she's so naive, but it's the 80s.
so naive, Chris.
I don't know. I don't know if I agree with that.
They
I
were-
don't. I don't think that from her point of view, if you were in that situation, you'd be as like freaked out.
I mean,
Like-
from my point of view, if it was me, first of all, like I would, if I even mustered up the ability to be like, okay, this is fucking weird, but that's a lot of money, I'll take it. Like I would literally just sit on the couch.
That's true.
I would
No,
literally just sit on the
there's
couch.
no way I'm not
arms
doing
crossed.
that. Yeah.
And if I start hearing rumblings that are sounding tragic and terrifying, and I'll just be like,
Step out the front door.
I'm gonna be like, money down and walking away.
Yeah. No,
You
there's
know?
there's definitely
But then there's
that's
a
what I
pizza
mean.
man
But I mean, I don't
with
think
a gun.
Well, then I hope he kills me fast.
like the pizza guy. If I was in that situation, I think like anybody, I don't think anybody would immediately think the pizza was drugged. The only reason you think that is because you're watching a horror movie
Mhm.
Yeah.
and you're definitely looking for the big reveals. But in real life, if I'm in a house and somebody gives me money to watch it and it's a little creepy in there, yeah, I might be like, even when I get creeped out, call 911 and then realize like, okay, wait. Nothing's going on. This is
Right.
fucking fine.
Right.
And then you get a pizza and it tastes weird. I'm not immediately thinking they're drugging me. Like,
Yeah.
I'm immediately thinking like that pizza tasted like
Man, I
shit.
got a shitty batch of pizzas.
Yeah.
Well, it sounds like a shitty batch of pizzas going around that town.
Yeah.
So
It's all from the same shitty
Yeah,
pizza
I'm not,
joint.
I'm not ordering from this place. What's the name? Lucifer's. That's an interesting name
Real-
for a pizza.
after
This is the first brick oven pizza.
Fired just right for you.
can we please make that a T-shirt?
That's amazing.
Can we please make that a T-shirt?
Yes.
That'd be an awesome T-shirt.
We kind of skipped over the fact that there's a lunar eclipse happening.
Yeah.
all through,
Yeah.
like they keep talking about it throughout this
Well,
movie.
because I mean, we're gonna do devil shit. There's got to be something with the lunar.
I like that aspect of this film. I like that they incorporated that as part of the, as part of the story.
Same old shit.
Same old
Okay.
shit.
Same old shit.
Not worth discussing. I
Okay.
guess.
Anyways.
Same old shit. Well, because we're at the point where she's drugged and then the devil shit starts happening. So that's about an hour and 30 minutes into the film. We
No,
got-
this film is only about an hour.
We-
and
Yeah,
20
got-
it's
I
an
minutes.
know.
hour and 10 minutes in, and
Yeah.
she's waking. Now she's now coming
Now
out
she's
of
coming
her
out of it, yeah.
her drug-induced coma.
And that is and that's when the tone of this film.
Dude,
Immediately
drastically-
changes.
Yeah.
I laughed so hard when she came to and she was tied down because all I thought was like, oh, it's like a Dio music video.
Seriously,
It's
That's
like
funny.
an
seriously.
80s hair metal video.
Yeah.
I.
and then Cat Lady. We got Cat Lady coming out of nowhere.
That's what she looks like. I was trying to figure. I was like,
Where's
or
a fucking cat?
there was like an 80s or 90s Beauty and the Beast live action
Yeah,
movie.
That's
that was
what
really-
he looked like.
She
You're
looks-
right.
She looks like what's his name? Oh God, who played the Beast?
I was.
don't know.
I was.
Fabio?
From
no,
Hellboy.
Yeah, from Hellboy.
Oh,
and,
Ron
City-
Perlman.
Yeah,
Ron
Ron
Perlman
Perlman.
was the Beast.
Okay. Yes, you're
And
right.
Linda
I was trying to
Hamilton
put my
was
finger
Beauty.
on it. What does this look like?
Looks like a cat. And I was like, really?
Well,
I was
yeah,
expecting like a witch.
first of all, like when you open the scene, it's like boom, heavy music. She's tied. There's a pentagram that's like chalked on the ground,
Mhm.
like,
Yeah.
and
The
I'm
loosest.
I'm immediately thinking like, okay, I'm glad something's happening, but somehow it just got really cheesy. Like,
yeah, man.
like the look of this set
Mhm.
looks really cheesy to me.
It did.
Yeah.
It's the lighting. It's that grayish blue lighting with the filter, and then also the thing that I kept on like. I was like, that thing that got tied in her mouth is so fucking loose. Like you can tell it's
Yeah.
tied loose, so they can just take it out during cuts.
Takes,
Yeah.
yeah.
during takes. So they're like, yeah, we're not gonna
Well,
tie it.
the thing about the scene that I think it's funny that this is the only part of the film that I felt like wasn't shot on 16 millimeter. Sure shit
Kinda
didn't
like
look like
video.
it. It looked like video.
Yeah.
In
Maybe
this,
it
this
was.
scene.
Yeah, maybe.
It lost that film charm and that film character to it.
And I don't. Yeah, you're absolutely right. It looks like it was shot on some like early '90s like video technology.
Yeah, they got a
It-
fucking VHS and the fucking camcorder.
Yeah, I don't know if that is the case. Wouldn't. Why would they do that if they shot the whole movie in 16? Why would they leave the last final grand
You know what it
scene?
honestly
I mean,
feels like? It feels like they did. This is what it feels like. It feels like because this is a modern film, obviously. This scene feels like they did way too much too much color correction to it. I think that's what it is, and it kind of pulled away
Wait,
the film characteristics.
Which
I
part are
agree.
we're not talking about the time where it goes
We're
almost
talking about
monochrome.
we're
right?
talking about the ritual,
Yes.
the ritual scene when she's like tied down.
Yeah,
That whole
I
scene.
took that as a stylistic thing. I didn't see that as.
Oh, it's definitely a stylistic choice.
Oh yeah, it
Oh,
is.
okay.
It's not
I
an
didn't know.
oversight on
Yeah.
by
Yeah,
any
okay.
means, but I just wondered why it didn't. Like to me, it had
it
a
looked
video
cheap
look.
to you, right?
Now,
Yeah, it looked like a cheap set.
I don't
Yeah.
know when she's being okay. So when she's running around the house, are
No,
those,
this is before that.
no,
We're-
I know, but here's the question. I'm just quickly. That doesn't take a lot. That's not like a long take or anything, is it?
Not that I
It wouldn't be
am aware
like a
of.
limitation of film where they're like, all right, we can't really shoot
No.
But you can
No.
still shoot about
No.
10 minutes. That, yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
I don't
Never
know.
mind.
Maybe
Sorry.
just the lighting
Okay.
style
Just
that they
thinking out
used.
loud.
They used a very spotlit kind of
Well,
style.
that and they
Yeah.
actively adjusted like the color palette of this scene.
It was a weird. And there's a couple moments in the shooting style of this film too where it happens in the earlier part of the film, but there's a couple moments where it does, and especially towards the end, where it does look like a made-for-TV movie. Just a couple moments,
I agree.
like
I
okay,
agree.
maybe
couple
like a-
moments, like
alright.
here and there, a couple
I
shots.
thought it the first time I saw it, and I thought it again this time. I was like, yeah, you're right. A couple of shots give it a very flat feel or something. It
Yeah.
doesn't have like the texture of the rest of the film had or the depth.
Yeah,
Well,
it's
which
very weird.
and it. The only reason I feel like we're bringing that up is because I mean it definitely plays as a strong negative in this film because this scene is supposed to be kind of like this crescendo of chaos, right?
Yeah.
And because I feel like because we're kind of taken slightly out of the film because of some of the shots they chose to use or some of the ways they chose to present us with the visuals aspect of it, it almost makes it like feel less impactful. It's just like okay, it just looks now you just showed me like a really cheesy ritual scene like. How
The
many
brown cloaks and shit.
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
you
No,
know,
well, that's where I got the. I said lit the video for Holy Diver from Dio.
That's funny.
Yeah, that the cat lady. I wasn't into that visual. Like it just wasn't. That wasn't cool to me, unfortunately.
What I will say though is once they start performing the ritual and they dump the blood in her mouth through the skull head and like they start doing that, like I liked the gore aspect of it. It definitely like grossed me out and made me feel weird. And then when she started getting the vision flashes of, I guess who was that?
That
The
was
devil.
the witch lady. Or
Yeah,
whatever
the
fuck.
cat
Okay,
lady.
I think we can safely say I mean she's not the grandmother. Like
No.
No, she.
I'm pretty sure it's just a demon.
Yeah, I think it's just a demon.
Just as, it's the demon that's trying to be born into her. I'm guessing, like because
Yeah.
they're trying to impregnate her.
They're definitely trying to impregnate her with some kind of weird thing. And I mean, it's called House of the Devil, so I have to imagine
It's
Yeah.
the devil.
that's and yeah, we could go into backstory and try to maybe this was a previous victim who had grown
That's
old.
what I was thinking because
and
how
now
often
he's-
was this
yeah.
like full lunar eclipse thing happening? So I'm wondering if like if it's been X amount of years now, it's like it's a chance to get you into a younger body so you can live longer on
That's
Earth.
what I gathered by the end of this was kind of
Mhm.
like I think the devil is that this woman wasn't their mother, but it was actually some sort of like the last girl that they look for.
Plus, you know what? I'm gonna say, you know what? I'm gonna criticize the devil. If that is the devil, he's really bad at like HR. You know, he's not recruiting the best.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
he really,
That-
he really
Fucking
needs
some real
needs-
dimwits.
Yeah, well, it's like I mean, so you find out that they're all in on it, and they need to do this sacrifice, like,
Right.
and she's apparently the chosen one. I didn't feel that throughout the movie
Me
that she
either.
was the chosen one, but they
Yeah.
keep telling her she
She's
is.
the chosen one because she answered the call.
Well,
she
yeah,
showed
she was
up.
there.
Well,
yeah, that's
she
exactly
showed
what
up.
it is.
I actually think that first, the one he says when he stands her up the first time, I think that explains the stand up, right?
Mhm.
Because when she calls, he makes mention to say, "Yeah, we had a really other girl came, but she was very she was what was the word he used?
Delicious.
Like disappointing or something like that, or she wasn't sufficient, or she was really bad, or whatever. Like
Right.
basically, it didn't work out. Now, I didn't take that necessarily as she went to the house, realized she didn't want to do it, and left.
Right.
I kind of took that as I think that the devil gets a vibe when these girls are coming over,
Mhm.
and he's saying like that one,
Mhm.
like that's the body I want.
Okay.
Like I think that first girl that showed up was killed by.
You know, this is a moment where
Yeah.
where more exposition is better than none.
Really? I didn't have a problem with it. Like, I don't mind having to go back through the film and say, okay, that one weird scene where the guy's out on the road, okay, maybe this was part of a bigger plan. You start
Well,
piecing things together.
I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about this scene with the selection process, I guess. It's like we're not
Oh.
it's fun doing it's fun I love a movie that I can go back and rewatch and I'm now provided more context and I
Mhm.
have more pieces of the puzzle. And at the time I finish it, I have a better picture of what I watched. And each time I watch it after that, it gets a little bit better and clearer. This film, I don't feel like they actually give us the puzzle pieces to put together. Like, because there is such a total lack of exposition, there's nothing to pick up on later on a second viewing. Like, did you feel like you got a better idea of the film? Chris, you're the only person here who saw it twice.
Yeah, I don't think message wise I took away anything different. I did take away more nuances of this on the second viewing, like of the production part of it, and even possibly like some things that the characters are doing. But as far as like or discovering new information that I didn't realize before, I don't think I really.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's pretty straightforward by the end of it. We
Yeah.
know it's like at the core of it, a girl shows up, and the devil tries to impregnate her body to become like a second coming.
Or to be born into.
And not only that,
from this
we've seen
body.
that tale a million times in a million other horror
That's like a
films.
lot of satanic movies.
Yeah, pretty much. It's basically Rosemary's Baby, but okay.
So yeah, Sam breaks free of this satanic ritual and she goes on a killing spree.
Yeah,
She
she
does.
fucks some shit up.
Which is pretty fun, actually, like, because
Yeah.
it's brutal. And she's got a huge butcher knife, and she's just fucking stabbing and
Like,
slicing.
and there's some
She
parts
gets
where she could
shot.
leave the house and her like. I like that her decision is like, nah, I'm gonna go back in there and start killing some motherfuckers. Like,
Yeah.
I was kind of like, all right, okay.
I'm taking them out.
The thing I don't quite understand, and I see that you see this a lot in horror movies a lot sometimes, is she kills the guy. The guy has the gun still, right? And this time he shoots her in the shoulder, but like apparently it's not powerful enough to blow off her arm or something because
Yeah, this
the
is a
gun
variable
suddenly.
variable power hand
Yeah,
cannon. There's
very
a
strange
knob
weapon.
on the gun.
Yeah. So she takes a hit to the shoulder, and then she slits this guy's throat because he gets too close with a gun because that's what people with guns do apparently.
Yeah, the
fuck?
guns are for close quarters.
You want to make
action.
sure you get them.
Yeah.
So, but
It's
the
not a
weird thing is,
ranged
like, after
weapon.
this guy goes down, the mother starts coming up the stairs. Well, she just stumbles right past the gun. For me, I'm immediately like, ooh, now I got a fucking gun.
Yep.
And I understand she's getting all weird and lightheaded because the devil's kind of taking her
It's
over at this
flashing.
point.
She's like going
Right.
in and out of this
I'm still
possession
picking the
state.
fuck out of that gun. If I'm going to
Dude.
go and hold myself up into an attic, I'm caking a gun.
Cake in a gun.
Caking a
caking
gun.
it.
It's caking it.
Taking a gun.
Here's the other thing too. Those flashes. I'm glad you brought those back up because I wanted to mention those too. I don't know why with this one. I just thought for this movie it was very cheesy.
They did it
didn't-
too much. They did it
was
too
it
much.
too
Yeah,
much?
it didn't have the
Might have hit it a
impact
few
of like Exorcist does that's clearly what they're pulling this this inspiration from. Exorcist does it well because it
Doesn't show you a lot.
doesn't show you a lot and it's actually treated more like something that's happening in the background behind characters and they don't realize what's happening, so they don't realize the presence that's surrounding them, and it creates more sense of dread. This one, it just hits it. It holds too long on it too. It's like
Yeah,
they
it
like
does.
just set this person up and like just maniacally laugh,
Shake
and
your
then
head
we'll
and
just
just
cut
go.
to it.
Shake your head and just go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see, but there were some of the imagery that was creepy, I will say, but
Yeah.
they did it too much to the point where
Yeah.
it became not creepy anymore.
Well,
Yes.
but I also think they were doing a different thing than they were doing with The Exorcist. I
Sure,
think they were using the like the more you started seeing those scenes, they were using it as a way to tell that the demon is getting stronger.
Mhm.
That's how I looked at
It's
it.
possessing her
Yeah,
body.
right.
Yeah,
And they're doing that visually rather than
Yeah.
you know necessarily that scene where she lifts up her shirt and you see
all the
that like
veins
the
and shit.
veins are kind of
Yeah. So
Yeah.
spanning out.
question: What happened to the wife's hair?
Why was she
She never
wearing
had
a wig?
any hair.
Yeah, I don't know why she was wearing a
What
wig.
was the point of that?
I don't know what the character choice
Was
on
there a
the wig.
point of that? She just rips it off like looking at the moon and is waha!
Maybe
Another. Oh, I was like, oh shit, another twist. Here we go. We're gonna find something out, and
Yeah.
it's like nothing.
Oh,
guess-
why? Like I feel like that's a weird. Like who cares?
I'm with you though. I like why show it if it doesn't mean something. Like
Yes.
because that is a unique thing. Like you're showing, oh, is she so old that she has no hair, so she has to cover up with
Yeah.
a wig to make it look like she's younger? Like maybe
Was she the grandmother?
I no, I don't think she was the grandma.
No.
I do think that it played a little bit into her character when she meets the girl for the first time. She starts talking about beauty and being young again.
Mhm.
Hmm.
And here's another thing. Maybe this was again. We can speculate that what's in it for these people to
Right.
resurrect the devil. If
Yeah.
not, maybe to say, hey, I want my youth back, or I want my leg to work again.
That's what I was gonna say because
Yeah.
he does make a point to mention that like he's sad that he's not what he used to be, and he points to his leg basically, and that must mean something. So
Yeah.
maybe it is like they're
then-
gonna get some youth like some kind of youth power from
Yeah.
this.
And it was
Youth power.
Steve was
the new after school program.
The
Power.
The hair didn't bother me as much as her turning her back on a
'cause
person with
the
a
hair-
knife
well,
and just
all-
like
oh, no.
being like, whatever, I'm sure she won't
Well, because
stab
all the
me.
I think she found all the hair in the tub though, right?
That's right.
So it's like, what happened to her hair? Was it the ritual that she lost all her
Oh
hair?
yeah,
Because
mean,
I
true,
assume
yeah.
that's the wife's hair in the
Yeah.
tub.
Has to be, right?
Yeah,
And
that
then
has to be related to that in some way.
maybe they're aging rapidly because of something.
you know what I took it as? I'll tell you what I took it as. I took it as that wasn't. She took the hair from the woman that used to live there, and she had cut a wig and made it her own.
Oh,
That's what I took from it, but I don't know if that again.
That's good too. I
That's
like
good.
that.
Yeah, it'd be cool
Yeah.
if they showed shit like that. That'd be a fucking sick ass movie instead of a fucking girl walking around a house for 2 hours.
So when Sam cuts that dude's throat with that butcher knife, like when she swings around and
Yeah.
fucking
Steve?
slices him,
Lucky shot. Too.
Yeah,
right.
what was Steve getting out of this?
he was part
was
of the
the
family.
son.
He was
I know.
the son.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I was like, what was he gonna ask for the
Just
devil
the
for? Some
henchmen,
friends?
he's for doing their bidding.
Maybe a fuller beard.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I want him to be less awkward around
I don't-
women.
yeah. He's just to me, he wasn't a good like. I never felt threatened by that dude, even when he had a gun and he was like bearing her down. I was just like, he's such a stooge. I don't know if it was just the actor or his look or whatever it was. I just didn't like it.
It's
Yeah.
just, yeah, he's just a henchman. He's not.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
no, there's nothing menacing or threatening looking about him.
Well,
and
no,
maybe that was
He
supposed
blew
to be
a woman's face off. That was kind of enough for me. I was like, all right,
Maybe- well,
like,
maybe
he's
that's supposed to be-
vicious.
But he doesn't even seem vicious. Like even when he's delivering the lines, it doesn't. I'm not convinced.
I
Yeah,
don't know.
gotcha.
I think there were moments when he's talking to Megan in the car, and I was kind of like, he gives a look, and I'm like, oh man, this guy's fucking weird. Like I thought the same thing with Creep. Like Mark Duplass is just like a nice looking dude. Like I want to hang out with that guy. But like in that film, it's the fact that he's such a nice looking dude
Yeah,
that like makes it even worse.
that adds to the.
Yeah, because it gives me the impression of just like shit, man. You can't just like look. Not everybody's a mustache twirling villain when they show up, so that makes it a little scary to me that like some baby faced,
Yeah.
Oregon freaking brewmaster
Yeah.
might also be a murderer.
So yeah. So after she gets out of the house,
Yep.
she's down to the one-legged guy, and he was stabbed in the gut, so he's not doing too well.
Well,
Right.
but and also keep in mind that now she looks and says, you know what, maybe I need this gun.
Yeah.
Then I'm like, finally.
Oh, which I forgot to bring up my favorite gag in this movie too, which is pretty cool. Was when we see Megan's body in the upstairs, and she falls over it. That's a hard fall she took,
Oh,
man. I'll
yeah.
give you that.
Yeah.
Just them running and slipping in the gallons of blood that are on the floor, like that was effective, and with the meat and the mashed looking face, like it was
It
effective.
was
That was good.
effective like the first time, but like the last time we see the henchman like kind of like skirting through it, like he just hit a patch of black ice. It looks more like Three Stooges, like whoa.
Yeah, they're slipping around. But, it
Yeah.
becomes a slip and slide.
So she makes it to the graveyard, and Old Man Kane is there.
Old Man Kane.
Yeah, old man Kane confronts her.
Yeah.
Mr. Ullman.
and says, "Hey, you're already been chosen. You can't get out of this." And then what does she do?
She pulls that gun on herself and
I saw that coming too. I was like, she's gonna kill herself.
Yeah,
Hold on.
obviously.
What fucks me up though is the way he's like, he's like, "Hey, wait, let's just talk about it. Hey, can we just
Well,
talk about this?
yeah.
Like, what the fuck? Talk about what? The fact that I just murdered your whole family because you tried to sacrifice me to the devil?
Yeah, but I think that like, what is he gonna do? He knows he's not gonna take her. He knows.
He's just a messenger,
I think,
Chris.
I
yeah,
know,
and
that's what he
I
says.
think he's a true believer type of guy, right? Like he
Yeah.
really thinks like you don't understand. Like this is a great thing for you.
Yeah,
Like you're gonna be like one with this like demon lord.
it's important.
You might
yeah.
get everything you ever wanted. You might be rewarded for this kind of thing. Who knows, right?
Mhm,
Like he definitely tries to play into like, and he also knows that she's on a ticking clock here. I think
Well, yeah,
So
because
if
it
he
has to be by midnight, right?
stalls her,
Yeah.
and she doesn't, and takes the time. Like his main concern, which is I got to make sure that this ritual goes through.
Yeah.
Happens. So I think there's also a little bit of misleading on his part, but he's definitely like, I'm not gonna fight her off. Like
He
I'm,
can't kill her. She's
Right.
too important.
I have a knife in my gut and I have a bum leg. Like I'm not taking
Yeah.
on this woman. So
well,
you're right.
then she puts that gun that we've seen so far in this film has had
As the most
various
destructive
power levels.
Yeah.
First time it was used, completely turned a head into mush.
Yeah.
It
Se-
was at
second,
point blank. Though.
Second time was
Yeah, and
like
so
a
was
this
the
BB.
one
shot.
wasn't?
Yeah,
Yeah,
this one
a
No,
was
the
B-
second one wasn't. That's why it didn't.
Well,
Yeah,
she
it was like
throw
a
it and then
BB in
pull-
her shoulder, and now she puts it against her head. And special effects wise, I'll say like they did a good job
Yeah.
making the side of her head blow out right as it cuts. So we see a chunk of her head just go,
Right, we do.
Mhm.
But
and she's dead, right? No.
no.
Presumably.
Hold on, whoa, dude. I mean, twist ending. Hello.
Gotta have
Ain't
one
a
of those.
twist.
Can we talk a little bit about like when do you think it becomes she starts like is the understanding that she finally understands the situation she's in, realizes she's going to be the harbinger of like the devil, and decides I don't know, I like at no point in time in this film do I get from her character that she would
Take her own life.
yeah,
To
like
save humanity.
yeah, like that she would like that.
Oh, I don't think she did to save humanity. I think she did it 'cause she was a situation she didn't want to be in anymore. She's like, only way out.
Yeah, but does she really like what? Like, why doesn't she think she's just drugged? Like, why does she immediately
'Cause
become
she-
like a true believer that
because
this is a real thing?
First
and
of all,
this is gonna bring the
she
apocalypse?
sees whatever it is that's in her coursing through her veins. She sees the visions that
Okay,
are now
it's true.
flashing in her
It's
head
true.
of this demon thing. So I feel like in that amount of time, it's enough to be like, oh, okay, this is actually maybe a little legit.
So do you think? And you think that she's strong enough then at that point to be like, I got to take my own life to save?
Yeah.
I mean, if
World.
if I'm standing there, what everything I went through, and then there's this fucking guy who's telling me, oh, everything that's happened to you is because you're becoming infected by the devil.
So-
Basically,
so-
I'd be like, oh, cool, pop.
So in essence, he really ruined this whole. His plan did not work.
Shouldn't have even told her.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he should have just been like, let her go. Like
It
she's
did
just she's gonna be the devil in like 15 minutes.
Right.
She just can't get far on foot. Like
Yeah, if he
And
had
then
just
gotta get
like
through the
if he
whole
just like chilled
graveyard.
out, it would have worked out well.
yeah, I'll
Yeah.
go find her later. She'll come find me.
Yeah.
He'll
She'll
be
be
like,
the devil.
thanks. Yeah, it's a weird moment. I'm not quite sure what it is, but yes,
Well, he was willing to die. He was ready to
Yeah,
be
he
shot.
didn't
so-
know.
I think it was all just to set up the whole fucking twist ending because they went to the whole R.L. Stein School of Writing, which is the beginning, the middle, and the twist.
Middle and the twist.
obviously the true innovator of Mumblecore
Yeah.
was actually R.L. Stein's
A lot of people-
Goosebumps.
yeah. A lot of people
I
don't know
gotta
that.
say, in the pantheon of twist endings, this one angered me the most.
It
Oh, man.
Why?
She got.
'Cause she's-
She got.
She blew the side of her head off,
And
and
you-
she
oh.
lived.
I saw it coming.
but
I saw it coming a mile away. I was like, oh yeah, she's living through this.
yeah, I thought so too.
Doesn't
but
need
it-
to,
Yeah,
though.
it didn't make any sense to me. Well, I mean, for me, it was more the physics of the gun that
Right,
bothered
that's
me.
Oh,
what
I'm
bothered
It was
sorry.
me
like this
too.
thing blew
She
her
has a-
friend's face off,
Guys.
and now all of a sudden it's like you'll be just
in this
fine.
world,
What?
she has a demon inside of her.
That's what I was thinking. Maybe
So-
she's kind of. You know.
Oh, she got
she's
regeneration
got some
powers.
Yeah,
and
she's
shit
got
now.
some power to her.
Maybe, but now what? Like, and then the question is like, is she now? Is
Nurse says she's gonna be all right.
hold on
Both
though?
of them.
Did she say both of them?
Yeah.
Oh,
Just both
okay.
of you. And I'm like, so you can tell that you're pregnant that fast? I guess if it's the son of Satan or Satan himself, then it's a fast, it's a fast
Yeah,
pregnancy.
that's a good. That's the same gestation period we had in Extro. You know, we're
Right.
talking
Yeah.
2 hours.
Very quick.
Very, very quick.
24 hours. Yeah.
well, we
you're
don't know how
pregnant.
long she's in the coma, though, right?
That's true. It could have been weeks later. Who knows?
This could be months later.
It's about 5 minutes.
Could be months later. Yeah.
It's
I guess
true.
it could.
Next
they don't
day.
say. They don't say.
Yeah.
You know, and maybe
3 minutes
maybe that's
later.
it. Maybe she's not saying like you're gonna wake up one day. Maybe she's saying like we have you on life support. We got to save the baby.
No, she says you're gonna
Yeah,
be okay.
you're right.
Both
she does
of
say
you.
both of you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's
Anyhow.
to say to the audience, she's still pregnant.
Yeah, I understand. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Every time Mike said true believers during this podcast, though, all I can think of is Stan Lee. It's like, well, he's
Excelsior.
he's a true believer. I'm like, God damn, dude, he likes Marvel, and he's like, no, he's the devil.
No.
Yeah.
All right, let's take a break. When we come back, we'll talk more about House of the Devil. All right, we are back. We're talking about House of the Devil. One of the things I did want to bring up because I think it's important to talk about this in this movie. The one thing that this movie does have, except for a couple of shots, is really good cinematography. So I wanted to preach it up on that a little bit. There's some really interesting shots, some very long shots, and they do really cool things with them. So I don't know. I was a big fan of that. I wanted to mention that with technical stuff before we get into our reviews.
Yeah, I liked it too. I think that's kind of like it's cool they played. It almost felt like because they're shooting on film, there is like a little more. There was more thought that put into each shot because obviously you got to make each shot fucking count. So that forces you as a filmmaker, I think, to like be more specific about what you want to get.
Careful.
You can be careful. You want to be more like calculating with everything that you do, and I think that actually plays well in this film to which maintain that '70s inspired kind of horror film vibe.
All right, so what do you say we get into our reviews?
Yeah, let's do it.
Rock
All
and
right.
roll.
So what did we want to start with? We'll save Danielle for last. Did she give us a review?
She
for it?
did give us a review. She wants to rate this movie slices of pizza.
Okay.
Slices of pizza.
And she didn't write anything. She just wrote a number. Do you want me to say it?
Yeah.
Yeah, what's her
Yeah,
number?
she gave 5.
Five.
Wow.
5 out of 5 slices of
Okay.
pizza.
Did she say it was like her favorite movie in the
Yeah,
beginning?
Yeah, she did say that.
Well, I'll go first, Danielle. I'm sorry, I can't agree with you on this one. I am gonna come in at a solid 2. Man, dude, this movie is boring. I'm sorry. It's really. I had a hard time even just fighting to stay awake with this movie. It's long. A lot of things seem pointless and go nowhere. It's not when you get glimpses of Mumblecore. You get glimpses of gore in there. Not enough for me. It's like a homage film, so I don't know. I'd rather go watch maybe like the original shit at this point. Yeah, I just wasn't a fan of this movie, and I wasn't a fan of the acting, wasn't a fan of the script, wasn't a fan of the tone really, and then the tonal shift towards the end either. So I'm gonna go 2 on this, just because the cinematography is good. It's a solid film as far as like how it was made, as far as like that it wasn't like a boom mic popping in the shot or anything like that. And some great cinematography, some fun stuff to watch with that. I had fun watching the stylistic choices more than I had watching the film. So I'm gonna go with a 2 on this one. Who wants to go next? Anyone? Throw it
Sure.
out there,
You
Kyle.
normally choose it.
Sure.
It's fan picks.
I'm
We
gonna
don't
come.
have a order.
I'm gonna also come in at a 2 on this one. But I'm gonna kind of disagree with some of the stuff that you said about it. I think there's actually a lot of excellent footage shot for this film. I feel like there is a good movie in there somewhere. I feel like the main issue with this film comes down to the edit. I mean, I made a joke about this the other night, I think to Chris, and I said, whenever I see written by, directed by, and edited by, I kind of go into something a little like, to me it almost says like you have too much control, or what the script you wrote and the footage you produced isn't coherent enough that you can hand it off to a third party who can take an objective look at what you want a story to say and have someone else put it together. Because I feel like as a writer-director, you kind of get a little close to your project. And in this film, I feel like taking a step away and maybe letting someone do an initial first pass on the edit would have actually helped a bit more. The pieces are there. They're just arranged incorrectly. I think if you move certain stuff around, you can actually drive home the story. You can create a little bit better mood. You can create a little bit better like terror, and you can make the film feel a little more impactful. I also personally would probably, I don't know, if it was me, I'd probably lose the twist ending and just kind of leave it like that, and where she doesn't or change it so she doesn't shoot herself and she just kind of disappears into the evening and we don't find out what happens. I don't know, but but because of the film that I was given and the one that I had to watch, I do agree. I did think it came off kind of boring and it came off kind of flat. And, for that, I got to give it a 2. But I will praise the hell out of it every day of the week. Any director that chooses to shoot on film, because it just gives it so much more organic character to the footage and what we see and the production side of it. So,
Mike.
Mhm.
I'm gonna disagree with both you guys. I'm giving this a 4. I thought I really liked this film. I don't agree that it was slow for me. I didn't feel that way at all. I kind of felt like it was more of an interesting choice to make it what we call a slow burn. I mean, like that's kind of how I looked at it. It was trying to build the fear kind of based on like this unknown literally behind a door that and her reaction to all of it. Now, I will dock it a star for a lot of the stuff that we talked about, namely the editing and maybe some of like the stuff that feels like it wasn't fleshed out. But what I really like about this film the most is it kind of like ties together like two of my favorite decades of filmmaking, which is the 70s and the 90s. And the early, and specifically early 90s indie films. Like some of the stuff that I like about Clerks is that the actors don't seem like they're professional actors. You know, the edits are a little rough. They're rugged. This film does have a very indie feel to it, and I kind of disagree that the acting is bad. I actually think that the acting in this is pretty good, and a lot of the people that are in this film are like solid actors. Like, what's Tom Noonan is like a solid actor. Greta Gerwig's a solid actress. Like, I don't think that it was terrible, really, quite honestly. And I don't know. I just thought it was a very interesting take on any genre film. So, yeah, for me, 4. And I also didn't think it was long. Like, isn't it like only like
Yeah, it's
a
only
minute,
like an hour
hour
and 20
20?
minutes. It's like an
It's
hour.
like a
and 20
No,
pretty
dude, it's
No,
more
it,
than
it
that.
is. It's
man.
quick. It's not long.
It's got to be longer
No,
than
it's
that.
not. It's not, and that's a problem. And I'll go into my review.
Yeah, thank you.
In the beginning, I said I'd seen this before when it first came out, and like there was a lot of anticipation to see it. And I'll just kind of elaborate on that a little bit more. When I did finally get around to watching it, I had a lot of the same feelings that Cody has described here, which was, well, first of all, I had already ramped up my expectations, which was the wrong thing to go into it with. But when I got into it, I remember specifically looking at my phone at about the hour mark, hour and 10-minute mark, and being like, when the fuck is something going to happen in this movie? And to me, like, I totally understand like the slow burn. Like 70s horror films definitely utilize that a lot more than what we see today, and I'm fine with slow burn, but the middle of this movie was a painfully slow burn film for me. Even the second time through, like dozing off, like, you know, but what I will say is, like everyone else has said here, like from a technical standpoint and a production standpoint, I love that it was shot on film. It definitely captured that 70s vibe. The score was great for it. Like, you know, I love the whole, you know, satanic element. I enjoy those kinds of films and think they're very intriguing and scary. And, you know, I just think it left a lot to be desired for me. And when you finally did get to that climactic moment at the end, it didn't sell me on the hour and 10 minutes that I just like slogged through. I don't think the acting was bad. Like, I actually agree with you. I think the acting was pretty good in the film, even though it did feel improvised in some places. Like, I thought everybody was convincing enough. They had the right look, certainly, for like the style of film. But yeah, it's just, again, left a lot to be desired, even on a second watch. Like, I wish I could say this is a movie that I would want to go back and try to rediscover things inside of, but I just don't want to, and that kind of bums me out because I think, like Kyle said, there was a really good movie in here somewhere, but instead he went the route of like, oh, I'm just gonna let the audience just linger and let the audience slowly build into this anticipation, and it's like, you just didn't pepper enough in to keep the ride fun. You know, like you get like one kill in the beginning, and then you get her in the house by herself, and then at the end, it's just kind of like, it's not a big enough drop, you know, for the climb that you just had. So I'm going with a 2. I actually was going to go lower, but talking about it was so fun, and like that makes me wish I liked the movie more because the conversation was so great. But yeah, I'm gonna have to stick with a 2 because it was just on point in my opinion.
All right, guys, there you have it. That is our show for this week. But before we go, we have a shout out to do.
Let's do it. This is from Egypt Machine, and she labeled it consistent AF, so consistent as fuck. She's been with us for a long time. She's been a long-time listener. So she says, I subscribe to quite a few cult movie podcasts, and you guys never disappoint each week. It's like I'm listening to my friends talk. I love it. Keep up the good work, gentlemen.
Thank
5
you.
stars. I forgot to say that.
5 stars.
5 years. All right.
Thank you, Agent Machine. We really appreciate you guys. If you want to get a shout out at the end of the show, leave us a review on iTunes. Then head over to cultfilminterview.com, put in your request for us to pick your film. And then after that, check out some videos on there, buy a t-shirt. March 15th, Film Bar for Pink Flamingos. They can get tickets where, Chris?
Thefilmbarphx.com.
That's right. Make sure you follow us on social media at cultfilm_review on Instagram, on Twitter for cultfilm_review on Twitter, cultfilm interview on Instagram. We're on Facebook. You can follow Kyle.
You can follow me on Instagram at cultfilm_Kyle.
You can follow Chris.
Cultfilm_Chris on Instagram.
You can follow Mike.
At MikeSluzio on Twitter.
And you can follow me at VHS Collect on Instagram and Snapchat. That's our show for this week. Remember, if you're going to join a cult, make sure they watch good movies. We'll see you next time.